Do it.
Amazing. Yeah, so welcome everyone to this month's NPact Level Up webinar. Ask Us Anything. We're going to be talking about gift management today. We're very excited that you are here with us today. Um, and here is what we're going to go over today. We're going to do some introductions, and we'll have some questions for you. And then you all submitted some amazing questions when you registered. And so we tried kind of combining questions. And so we're going to try to tackle as many as we can. Um, a little bit of housekeeping. The chat and the Q&A is open and available for you all. So feel free to add comments, questions, suggestions in there so we can kind of address them in real time. We'll also have a slide at the end where if we any questions we're not able to answer in real time, we can circle back if we have time at the end. Um, Perfect. Christine, would you like to introduce
Absolutely.
yourself?
So great to see you all again today. I love seeing familiar names and new names I like in the chat. I'm Christine Robertson. I'm the services manager here at NPact. I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Saw a couple other North Carolinians on here today. Um, I have been in Razor's Edge for a little over 20 years now. Spent about the first half of my career as a database manager, and the last half of my career has been doing consulting and supporting nonprofits with their software, particularly as it relates to donor CRMs. So this is all stuff I love to do and enjoy getting to help people make the most of their data. Kevin?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Kevin Wood, and I am the director of sales here at NPact. And I also live in Cincinnati, Ohio, as a couple of people I saw in the chat. Um, I spent 15 years in the nonprofit world, primarily as a Razor's Edge database manager. Hopped around I was at a university for a couple of years. I was at a healthcare foundation, and I was at a high school for 10 years. Joined NPact about 3.5 years ago, and started off as a Razor's Edge consultant, and kind of flipped over to the sales side of the house earlier this year. So it is great to meet everyone. And I don't know if I didn't say this already before, but we are recording the session today. We will send out the slide deck. We'll send out the recording by the end of the week. So you have that to go back and see anything you missed, or in case you need to leave early. So here at NPact, we are a Blackbaud channel partner. That does not mean we get any new information or any information that customers don't get, or any quicker for that matter. So a couple places to kind of look as we talk about functionality throughout our conversation today, but kind of just in general. As you all know, a lot of the things that we're used to doing in database view is moving over in some form or fashion to web view, or to the unified view, I guess. So a couple places to look. When you log into Razor's Edge NXT on your home screen there's this what's new section. Oftentimes we just kind of glance over it, but Blackbaud is putting out updates about once a week about things that are new in WebView, that was available in Database View and now has moved over. So keep an eye on that. And we've said this a few months in a row now, but the product update briefings were done in May, and you can go check out that and watch the updates for any of the Blackbaud products that you use. But a lot of useful information, especially the Razor's Edge one. A lot of useful information there about roadmap and functionality and things that are coming down the pike. All right, we are going to launch a few participant poll questions. So we'd love to hear who we're talking to today. We kind of tried to categorize our responsibilities and roles as much as possible. But I know we all wear many, many hats, so that other is an option as well. And then
And
also
they've
how
got
long,
three questions, so yeah, you can keep
yeah,
going
yeah, I was gonna,
while
yeah,
they're
okay.
answering.
Yeah. And then how long you've used Razor's Edge, and then also what is your current relationship status? If we were still keeping track of relationship statuses on Facebook, what would your relationship status be with Razor's Edge NXT?
I think that everyone has, every time I say that, a couple more of you submit some answers. So, okay, go ahead. I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
so definitely a lot of database managers in the house today, which is always fun. But I love that we've got some directors of development, some finance, and others. We've got a good mix of how long you've been using Razor's Edge. And I know for those of you who've been in over 10 years, like I have, 10 feels like a bar, but we can only add so many options. So We know once you've been in 10 years, it's kind of a long-term commitment, I think, so to speak. And kind of across the board too, where all of you are, I cannot talk today, with your relationship with Razor's Edge. So hopefully for those of you who are not great and not so good, hopefully we'll give you some things today that'll help kind of improve that relationship.
Yeah, amazing. So we're going to be talking about gift management today. I think for the lifeblood of an organization is the dollars that come in the door for the most case. So we have to be able to handle those gifts in a responsible manner, but then also kind of technically making sure we're doing what we need to do in order to get that information into Razor's Edge, but then also be able to get it out as well. We're going to kind of go through some situations that may come across your desk throughout the course of a year. And the first one we're going to talk about are adjustments and amendments.
So one of the reasons that we wanted to kind of highlight adjustments and amendments, and this is kind of a conglomeration of different questions. So hopefully for all of you who asked about these, this covers all of your questions. If not, like we said, feel free to add some questions for us. But adjustments and amendments sometimes feel like they're doing the same thing, and they both start with the letter A. So there's that layer of let's make sure we've defined our terms and let's talk about what each of these is doing. Adjustments are the changes to most they're almost every gift in Razor's Edge. We'll get to the where that's different when we get to amendments. Adjustments can also be posted to the general ledger. So the fields that are connected to adjustments, most of them are things that are going to affect how that gift is going to hit the general ledger, especially if you're posting from RE to FE, or yeah, from RE to FE, things like that. So adjustments allow you to change the campaign fund and appeal. You can create splits in that. You can change a gift amount. You can change a pledge schedule. You can change a gift subtype. You can change a post date. And when you create an adjustment, it's coming through automatic. Usually it's going to say not posted. And then when you post gifts, you have the option to include adjustments and write-offs. And so that will mean that that adjustment posts through to Financial Edge, or if you're using the GL Post tool just to create a file, post through to that file to help your finance team find the change that you've made. There are some things you cannot change on an adjustment. One of those is the gift date. That is a field that does not get changed on an adjustment. The other piece that you might want to change, and this is where amendments are different. Amendments are changes to future payments for your recurring gifts. So when you amend a recurring gift, it does not change any of the historical payments. So if I have a $50 gift every month that goes to the annual fund, and I call and say, I love the work you're doing, make my gift $100 a month. All my old gifts stay 50. But from today forward, my amendment means that my new gifts become 100. There's a lovely little trail that shows you where that change, when that change happened, and you can track on that. You can report on that. Now, the piece to kind of be aware with these adjustments and amendments, I'm really started from a database perspective when I explained this, but some of these functionality pieces have moved to the web view or the unified view or whatever it's being called. You can change a pledge schedule in WebView now, and it's not called an adjustment. It just says change pledge schedule. Um, the amendment, where it's in one place in database view, if you go to a recurring gift in WebView, you can amend the gift in a couple different places to change the credit card amount information, to change the campaign fund appeal and amount, or to change the schedule. So keep in mind, some of these phrases are shifting as we're moving to WebView. But those are the primary differences between adjustments and amendments. Amendments are just for future payments of recurring gifts. If you needed to change a recurring gift payment, that would be an adjustment. So if that payment came through and you realized, oh, the credit card didn't process, this gift should be changed to zero, that's an adjustment. If you want to change those future payments, that's an amendment. I hope that's helpful. I know that's kind of a lot of information about those two things, but getting those terms defined is certainly a big part of it.
Yeah, so one thing I'll add, and this is hopefully to something that your finance department will be happy to hear, is that especially with adjustments, you're kind of going back and changing kind of historically what happened. And so I think of two different scenarios for the need for an adjustment. Is one kind of the fat finger error is that you put 1,000 when you meant to put 100 or vice versa, and that gift still got posted through to the GL and maybe even got posted to your GL as well. And so there's a need. Like historically, that just didn't happen, right? The amount needs to be changed. The other situation, what happens quite a bit is you enter a gift that goes to the annual fund, gets processed, gets deposited, gets posted to the GL, and the receipt gets created and sent to the donor for your thank you letter. And they call back and said, I didn't want this to go to the annual fund. I wanted this to go to a scholarship fund, let's say. And so you need to go back and change what had happened. But and so the thing that we want to make sure we're keeping track of when we enter an adjustment is I always like to go across the hall and talk to our accounting manager to say, hey, I have a need to post through an adjustment today, and kind of talk through what that looks like and kind of what the process is. We're not doing these every single day, hopefully. So they're just going to come up kind of once in a while. And so it's always good to talk to someone that's managing your DL just to make sure you're entering it correctly. Because when you do an adjustment, we have a field on the adjustment called the adjustment GL post date. And that's the date that's going to be reflected on the general ledger when you post through that adjustment. And so we just want to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page with what dates we're using and what's being changed. Something that happened to me and I kind of learned the hard way is I had a posted gift that I needed to change the campaign on. Well, if we think about what gets tracked in RE and what gets tracked in FE, the campaign only lives in Razor's Edge. That information doesn't flow through to the GL. So I entered an adjustment just to change the campaign and ended up posting that adjustment through and that money ended up getting counted twice because of kind of how it all happened when really I didn't need to do an adjustment. I just needed to change the campaign on the gift. So just kind of think through and maybe include other folks in that conversation to make sure that you're kind of entering those correctly when you have to do them.
And one other tip from someone who's entered a few of these and wished I had always done this. There's a spot where you can put a reason and a note. Every time you do an adjustment, make that a rule for yourself because whether someone else is trying to figure out why it happened or whether 6 months later you're looking at it trying to figure out why did I do that, notes can save you a lot of time and questions.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll note as well, that's the example I used before about the you entered 100 when it should have been 1,000. If you have your Razor's Edge integrated with your Financial Edge and you see that a gift has not been posted yet, you can just go in and make the change on the gift before it gets posted. There isn't a reason that you should need to do an adjustment if a gift hasn't been posted yet. So the example would be BBMS transactions, and you have weekly disbursements turned on. So you've entered the gift today, but the money hasn't been deposited yet. There has been no need to post anything to the GL yet. You can go in and just kind of change that information that you need changed before it gets posted.
Yeah,
Once it's posted, then that's the time we need to make an adjustment. And yes, Carrie, always leave yourself breadcrumbs in RE.
100%.
Um, and also for your audit as well. So
Yeah,
usually
makes a big
when you make
difference.
adjustments on very large gifts, and that gets posted through, your auditor will most likely ask for documentation surrounding those adjustments. So make sure you just leave as like copy emails or copy documentation, leave as much as you can when you're doing it in real time so that when it comes time next year for the audit, you have that information at your fingertips.
Absolutely. Let's ready to trans move on to our
Yeah.
next category,
Yeah.
I
So
think.
our favorite and thing that is gaining a lot of popularity over the last few years are DAFs and QCDs.
So for this, we really wanted to, again, help give you some definitions and kind of help start the conversation about what you need to do for your donors. The reality is, in Razor's Edge, there are several ways you can do some of this and still do it legally. So, my answer about what you should do with hard credit and soft credit and how you should set this up is always going to be it depends on what you've already been doing. So, I don't really want to give you an answer that's a blanket, here's what everyone should do. So, that caveat aside, donor advised fund. key pieces to recognizing this is that the donor has already received their charitable contribution tax credit when they gave the money to the community foundation or the Jewish Federation or whatever entity is the keeper of their donor advised fund. It is not legally their money anymore. They are making a recommendation that that money come to you, and the organization holding the money is passing it on to you. So you do need to acknowledge and thank the donor who recommended that the money come to you. You absolutely should not send them a receipt. That would not be a legal tax receipt because they already got it. You also do not need to send a receipt to the check issuer. Um, I saw this, I've seen this often where organizations don't catch that and they send a tax receipt to whatever local community foundation. The foundation does not need or want those receipts. It doesn't come to them. Hard and soft credit for this, like I said, there is no cut and dry answer because a lot of it does depend on what you already have. But think about your hard and soft credit in terms of how are you running your tax receipts? How are you reporting on this? How has it been done historically in your database? And find a consistency that works so that you can handle all of this in accordance with the IRS, in accordance with what you need to recognize donors for all of those big facts. QCDs are similar and a lot of the considerations are similar. So the hard and soft credit, I'm going to leave that part alone. I just put it on the slide so that you think about it again. But what a QCD is, it's a qualified charitable distribution. Donors age 70 and a half and up have the option, they have to take money out of their IRA, but they can choose rather than keeping that money for themselves, they can choose to give that money as a QCD to organizations. Giving that money from that IRA is not a charitable contribution for their taxes, but it does affect their taxes because it reduces their taxable income. So this is another piece where knowing what this is means that you can do the correct thing for what you send the donor. Again, do not send them a receipt, but you do have to acknowledge the gift. So you have to acknowledge what came. You have to acknowledge when it came, but you don't give them a this is, use this on your taxes. No, you acknowledge we got this QCD from your IRA. So just kind of keep those things in mind as you're tracking this because these are becoming more and more of a piece. Dana's question about do QCDs have paperwork that say they're QCDs? I believe that should come with the transactions, but I will leave that for you all to kind of speak to in the chat. Have you seen that? I don't open gifts anymore, so I know what these are and I'm trying to stay up to date, but since I'm not the one processing it, I don't see what comes in the mail. So hopefully this is a team answer and you all can kind of help give us some feedback on that. Kevin, do you have anything to add about DOFs and
Yeah,
QCs?
yeah, and that's good timing for that question to come up because one thing I will add is that almost all the time, I'm not going to say all the time, but just about all the time, there will be some documentation that comes both from donor advised fund gifts and from QCDs as well.
Perfect.
And it's always good to just read the letter, and they pretty much will tell you what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to handle that gift. Um, most of the time from your Schwabs or your Fidelities, you'll get the same exact letter pretty much every single time that'll have whether or not who you should acknowledge or who directed that gift to you, how to handle the receipt. They'll tell you, hey, don't send us a receipt, but make sure you thank the donor. The other thing that's very important to note, specifically for donor advised funds, is that because that money is not coming from the individual and they've already received tax credit at the time they donated it to the or set up the DAF, is that they cannot get any personal
Benefits.
benefits um, for that contribution, or it's not able to be paid down for any personal commitment as well. So if you're at a school, for example, and someone tries sending a donor advised fund check in to pay for a student's tuition, that's maybe a family member's tuition, like that. Those are the kinds of things that are kind of not allowed to be for those funds to be used for. A lot of times we see for events when someone buys a table or tries to pay for maybe auction items or something. Those are again examples of things you're just not allowed to use that money for because they're getting a personal benefit from. And oftentimes it'll also say by depositing this check, the organization is confirming these things. And one of those is that that money is not being all the things we just kind of talked about. So just make sure you pay attention and kind of everyone knows when that kind of money comes in, because there are some ramifications that will come up if the individual gets audited, and maybe potentially for the organization audit as well. Um, for the hard and soft credit, I always I always say that, and Christine said it before, but kind of the way I kind of say it is that consistency is more important than industry standard when you're talking about who gets the hard credit versus who gets the soft credit. You have to be able to kind of run a blanket giving statement, annual report, receipts, whatever, to say that here's how our organization handles money from DAFs. You will get a different answer depending on what consultant you talk to about how they think you should do it. I don't know if we have enough time to go in. I don't even
I
know.
don't think
Christine
we
and I
do
haven't
because we
talked
still
about it
have
in a
several more
while.
slides to go.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it in a while, and so I don't even know if Christine and I agree on how giving should be handled. But the
That
most
could be a
important thing
whole
is
webinar
consistency.
all,
Yeah,
yeah. Amber's question about stock transfers. Yes, stock
yeah,
is a different piece. Because stock is a gift to your organization. It's not like cash in the sense of how you receive it, but in the sense of it's not tied to a donor advice fund or a qualified charitable distribution. So yeah, you can use stock for event just the same as
yeah.
cash.
And I'm glad you brought up. I don't know who that was. Amber. I'm glad you
It's
brought up
Amber.
stocks.
Yeah, great
We
question.
maybe could have handled had a whole slide on stock, but make sure you are paying attention to the IRS guidelines on how to acknowledge and receipt stock. I've seen, can't tell you how many organizations I've seen wait until the stock is sold, and then whatever it was sold for is what goes into Razor's Edge in terms of donation amount or receipt amount for the donor. That isn't exactly how we want to be handling stock transfers. So just make sure you pay attention to what the IRS or how the IRS tells us to handle that for what goes on the receipt. And also, and I say this every single month, make sure you have the policy and procedure for your organization written down on handle how you handle all these kind of special kinds of donations, just to make sure you're being very consistent.
Yes, documentation. While you go to the next slide, Kevin, your comment about Fidelity, I would call Fidelity. I think that's one of our challenges as gift entry people, and as data management professionals, because we don't always get all of the information, but doing as much detective work as you can to figure this out, that's the best you can do. Unfortunately, we can't make all of these providers give us what we need. Pledges. I know we had a comment in the question about pledges, and we had a lot of questions, honestly, about pledges and pledge management. So this one's got a list of them, and let's get through as
Yeah,
many as we can. So changing pledge schedules, we did refer to this a little bit on the adjustments. I just wanted to mention it again here because I think it's an important piece. You can do it two ways. You can do it with an adjustment in database view. In web view, you can just click a button that says change the pledge schedule. I think the web view is far simpler, to be very honest. However, if you need the adjustment as a trail, I would recommend doing that in database view to have a trail. So it kind of depends on where you are with that, and if you need those adjustments to post to Razor or to Financial Edge for a trail, if you want to have the notes and the time frame of when it was changed. Um, those are the kind of the two options you have. Um, Reminders. At the moment, I have not found anything in WebView in the standard Razor's Edge that everyone has that pulls a list as easily as the mail tool in database view. And I'm wording that way because Letterbox has a pledge reminder option. It's a paid option, but it is out there. It is very easy to use. I know there are some other third-party companies as well. So I don't want to say you can't do it in WebView, and also it's probably coming with all the things Blackbaud is rolling out. But as of right now, if you are trying to find an easy way to create a list of what reminders you need to send out, database view and mail is absolutely a great way to go. So, Kevin, I'm going to pass the next one to you because I've been talking too much.
yeah.
How do you apply part of a check to a pledge and make the rest a one-time or cash gift?
Yeah. So, before I get to that, one thing I wanted to add again about adjusting pledge schedules, that does not just have an impact on Razor's Edge. When we talk about cash flow reports, when we talk about running our pledge balances at the end of our fiscal period, there are some reports that the auditor is going to ask for about multi-year commitments. So, again, make sure you talk about that with everyone that needs to be included in that conversation about when you're making an adjustment to a pledge schedule. And if it's a multi-year commitment that has, you're doing a capital campaign or you're borrowing off your pledges, like it's a legally enforceable pledge schedule, make sure you have documentation for why you're making that adjustment, because that will have implications farther down the road. Okay, next question. How can I apply part of a check to a pledge and make the rest a one-time cash gift? Um, I'm kind of driving people towards doing gift entry in WebView a little bit more, but it's for something like this, I do like to go to database view in a batch because it's a lot easier. Um, so I have our sample environment open. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think it's easier to show how to do this um, as opposed to just talking through it. So I'm going to open up this random batch just so I can show you kind of where to click on the screen. So when we have, and I think I have an outstanding pledge on my record. Yeah. Oh, maybe not. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So when you're applying a check, so maybe we have a $50 balance on our pledge, but the donor sends in $100, we can put that information in here. And then when we go up to the gift menu and apply to, there's an option here for pledge. And then any pledge that the donor has on their record will show up here. Christine, who was that other person that we were working
I'm
with yesterday?
Melba Richards.
Melba, that's right. That's right. Okay. We're going to use our wild cards because we're good. Okay, so someone that has an outstanding pledge, you see this screen. Yes, we want to apply it. It's going to bring up all of our outstanding pledges. So let's say we're not going to do this one. We're going to do this one, and we're going to apply. Um,
Say she wrote the check
uh,
for 500 because that'll actually give you
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
example.
Yeah. So our payment is 500 and we're going to apply 450 to this. So we have the ability to make these amounts be different. Like most of the time they're not. It's always going to be the payment amount is going to match up with the pledge balance or the installment amount or whatever. But we have the ability to do this and then this pops up. And it's asking you, how do you want to handle this specific situation? So we have three options here. Increase the amount of the original pledge to $500, change the amount of the pledge payment to 450, or, and this is to answer that question from our slide, is we can create a cash gift for the remainder. And when we do that, you're not going to see anything different on on the batch, but when you go to commit it, you will end up getting two gifts
Two
created
gifts.
on Melba's record. One is a pledge payment for 450, the other is a cash gift for 50 with the exact same campaign funding appeal applied to that the pledge went to.
While you're here, Kevin, I think it's our next question. Can you go back to the gift and
Yeah.
apply to? Oh, if you need to make another gift,
Yeah, we can
that's
do that. Yeah.
easier. So I wanted to point out, so we had the question about how do you apply a payment to a pledge that's on another record. That load pledges from where Kevin just put the blue, well, what he tried to click on it and we have the spinning
Yeah, we can do
circle.
it. Yeah.
That load pledges from allows you to search records in Razor's Edge and you can link that pledge payment to a pledge that's on a completely different record. And it comes through beautifully in the reporting because you can see all the donors correctly. So that may or may not be the next question. We might have jumped around in our slide, but I thought we're here. Let's cover it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually gonna do the same thing. Yeah, and Jennifer,
Okay.
yes, it creates two different gifts, not a split gift. Yes. Okay.
So yeah, Kevin, and I'm not sure about your receiving if you're talking about the pledge piece or if you're talking about the payment with the reminder. So the win or the remainder, if you are applying the pledge payment with a remainder, that would make two separate gifts in Razor's Edge, which would do two separate receipts. For the pledge, applying a pledge payment to a different pledge doesn't affect the receipt at all. Christy, I don't know if the load pledge from is in WebView yet or not, to be totally transparent. I think it should be because I know there's a lot more pledge information there, but I haven't double checked. So I would look for it. Oh, good. It was the next question.
Yeah, how about that?
Good, good for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Write-offs,
Right.
Kevin.
Yeah, write-offs is the next one. So, again, and write-offs can be done in WebView. Yes, Christine?
Yeah,
Yeah, write-offs can
I
be done in
believe
WebView.
so.
Yeah, I
If
have
you want to
database
do
view.
them in bulk, I would still do that in database view.
Yeah.
Because there is an admin tool where you can bulk write off pledges. So that is
Yep.
probably a useful piece for people to know.
Yeah. So write-offs are done on the pledge level for or from the gift record, I'm sorry. So when we go to actually open up any whatever pledge we want to write off, we were going to do it in here, and it's going to be under the gift menu and hit write-off. Now, what's cool about this is that we don't always necessarily need to write off the entire balance of the pledge. So, and you can kind of just step through everything you see on the screen here. Any green box, for me, it's green. Any green box is a required field. And so you just kind of fill out what it is, like whatever situation you're handling. If it's just a complete write off, you would just do 450 here. And it also is allowing you, because if it's a multi installment pledge, you can write off specific installments if you wanted to. But for this one, it's a single installment. So we're going to pay off. And this is kind of just very, very similar to a pledge payment on how we kind of fill this out. But we enter the write off amount. We want to pay down this installment of 450, and then you can save it. And you'll also notice here we have a GL post status and post date as well. And so this information will get posted through to the general ledger so that your general ledger can be in sync with this pledge balance. Christine, anything else about write-offs?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty straightforward unless there's questions from the group
Yeah,
from the
I'm going to
audience.
say this. This is another example of something that, especially for a multi-year pledge, that will come up in an audit. That's one of the questions they ask is about write-offs that happened this year. So make sure you have documentation for this so you can supply it to your auditor.
Yeah. And notes, notes, notes. I can't say that enough on that.
Yeah,
Yes, Joanna makes a great point. Write-offs do appear on gift records and reports as gifts, and it does look kind of like a payment. So keep that in mind when you're working with queries and exports and gift types, especially in database view. I feel like it's a little bit different sometimes in web view how that shows up, but it will show as a gift in some
yeah. I'm
places.
actually going to go ahead and write this one off so we can show you what that looks like. 15, okay. Um, yeah, so when we then go back and look at this pledge, we'll see like it'll show as an installment as a write-off here. And you can't, like if you query on this, you can't open up a write-off, but you can, this is how you see it
Yeah,
is
it shows as a
through the
gift.
through the installment tab.
So, all right,
Okay, you're on time. We got 10 minutes left. All right,
we can
let's
do
go
it.
back.
We're gonna
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Last question. Oh,
Go
this
ahead.
one is
Yeah.
such a tough one. What do you do when a donor makes a pledge, then signs up for a recurring gift intending to pay the pledge? There has not been a release to fix this yet. So, unfortunately, recurring gift payments cannot be applied to a pledge in Razor's Edge. There is no way to do that. So, your choices are all workarounds, essentially. One option I've seen people use is they write off the pledge and they just let the recurring gift put the money in the bank. I am not arguing that is the right answer because you have to discuss this with your finance team, but that is an option. Another option that I've seen people do, quite honestly, is reach out to the donor, contact them to get the credit card information directly, add that credit card information on the pledge itself, and process the pledge payments monthly as you would process any other pledge payment monthly in Razor's Edge. That's another option. Neither option is ideal, quite honestly, and I don't say that to I just say that to say those are the kinds of options you have because it is not possible to apply that payment to the pledge in Razor's Edge. So unfortunately, you have to figure out what workaround is best for your organization and make that happen.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's go to, I think we have one more slide. Yeah, we've got our
Yeah,
rapid fire. So, all right,
yeah.
Kevin, you want to take number one?
Yeah, so how do you delete old GIFs when mistakes are found? My follow-up question to that would be why would you want to delete an old gift? We would probably, for all the reasons we talked about before, lean on an adjustment.
Mhm.
Um, Again, make sure that your adjustment post date, if it's from a an already closed fiscal period on your general ledger, you'll have to kind of just make sure that that GL post date for the adjustment is in an open period um, for that to happen. Can a posted gift be unposted? The answer is yes. But there are a long list of caveats as to or things to look to be
Absolutely.
made aware of to do that. There is a plugin, and this your plugin screen might like look different than mine, but there is a plugin called the Unpost Gifts utility, and this is a very powerful and very dangerous plugin to use because it is query based. And if you don't put a query in and you just hit begin, it will start to unpost every single gift in your database. I learned this the hard way on a Friday afternoon at about 4 o'clock. So it starts with a query, but you make a query of gifts. You put the query in here, you hit begin, and all this does is just change that GL post status flag from posted to not posted. It does has no ramifications on your general ledger. It doesn't do anything with integration. It just changes that flag from posted to unposted. So this is an example. I do this when I want to just change a campaign. I mentioned that earlier. You can unpost the gift or you're just changing it. Go change the campaign and just go and manually mark the gift posted again, and it would be like nothing ever happened. But this is a very kind of dangerous plugin
Yeah.
to use because you could
Make
have a lot
sure
of
you
negative
talk to
ramifications.
finance. Like Kevin said,
Yeah.
if you're using this and it's something that could affect finance, like you're changing a cash gift to a pledge payment, make sure you talk to finance, make sure you document it, use it very carefully. Should you
Um,
use gift processing in WebView? Um, I feel like the answer to this in so many ways is use your judgment and make a decision that works for you and your organization. I think we all need to be prepared for the reality that we are leaving database view behind. We are moving to web view. So I don't want to say, oh, let's just stay in database view and ignore web view. I also don't want to ignore the fact that not everything we can do in database view is available in web view. So I think the answer is, are you staying up to date on what web view can do? Are you continually evaluating it to see if it's time for you to move? Then I would say make your decision and make the decision that's right for you. And if you need help making that decision, there are definitely people who'd be happy to talk to you about the pros and the cons. But I think it's really it's a thoughtful decision that every organization needs to make.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so if we think about it, at the end of the day, we need gifts entered into Razor's Edge. You just need to look at which way for you is the most efficient and the most accurate, and that's your answer.
Yeah.
At least for right now. Amber had a question. What is the purpose of marking a gift as posted? Very good question. So if you don't use Financial Edge or if you don't have your integration turned on, there on surface, there could not, maybe there isn't a need to change it. But what does happen when you mark a gift posted is that it kind of locks in
Mhm.
the really important information on a gift. So your gift date, gift amount, fund, campaign, and appeal all get kind of locked in so that no one can go in and accidentally change it. So for reconciliation purposes, you'll really want to use that GL
Yeah.
post status so that someone doesn't either on purpose or accidentally change gift information that would then make reconciliation nearly impossible between the two systems. What functionality exists for stock gifts in WebView? I think all of them. You can enter
Yeah, there's a lot.
you can enter a gift in
Mhm.
WebView as a stock.
You
Um,
can't apply it to a pledge yet. That is one thing you can't do.
yeah,
I'm not sure if can you sell it, Kevin? Have you checked on that? I think you can
I
enter
have
it. I'm
not
not
checked.
sure
I
if you can
apologize. I
sell
probably
it.
should have. Yeah, I don't know.
So I think you can create it. I think take some time and look at it in your web view. I think those, but I know you can't apply it to a pledge yet. So that is one piece to be aware of.
Yeah, how do I refund a transaction? So if it's a non-credit card transaction or a credit card that was processed outside of BBMS, an adjustment down to zero and posting that through is the way to do it from Razor's Edge perspective. Finance will have a different answer because they actually need to give the money back. But if it's a BBMS transaction, still adjust the gift down to zero, and then you will need to log into BBMS or someone will need to log into BBMS, find the transaction, and you actually do the refund through BBMS. And so it would be you'll see it on your next disbursement or a subsequent disbursement. You'll see the negative balance going out of your account or out of your kind of net disbursement for that time period. How do I change the constituent on a gift? we've kind of talked around a lot about WebView. I have it pulled up here. But what's nice about this is something that's was not very easy to do in database view, is very easy to do in WebView now, is that when you open up a gift record, when it will eventually open, you can edit the constituent. Um, and now the one caveat, this is only individual to individual, organization to organization. If you need to do from individual to organizations or vice versa, there is a workaround. I believe it's in the knowledge base, but it has to do with converting individual to organization records in database view. You have a dummy record, you merge, and all this other things. But there is a workaround if you need to switch between individuals and organizations. But very easy to do, edit constituent, and you can change the donor.
And then definitely, why don't you, while you're in WebView, can you go to the settings? Because the last question was
Oh, yes.
somebody is seeing credit card fees that are a different fund than the gift fund, and they wanted to know why, and they wanted to know how to change it. So yes, you're going exactly where we needed to go. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and you'll see this is why our test environment doesn't get the highest amount of bandwidth and wherever it's pointing to. So it does take us a couple extra seconds than you'd experience. But so under settings, control panel, under gift management, here
Yep, the
is
donor cover
yeah,
designation.
donor coverage designation.
So
So this, yeah, go ahead.
you
Go
can
ahead.
change this if you don't want those credit card fees in a different fund, you do need to remove the fund from there. That's where it's coming from, is somebody has set that up as the fund for those fees.
Yep. And it is kind of across the board, so you um, can't do it by donation form, but it's here under
Yeah,
your
has to
settings.
be for everything. So we got through all of our slides with 2 minutes to spare.
Yeah,
Well, at least most of our slides, but there's still some time for questions from the chat. Um, and I think I've gotten to all the questions in the Q&A. So Kevin, why don't you tell everyone about our upcoming events?
yeah, absolutely. So we will be continuing our level up series in August. And just kind of we usually do the third and fourth Wednesdays of the month. Third Wednesday is for Financial Edge NXT. There is some new functionality available for integration. I know we just did this topic a few months ago, but since we did it, there's new functionality available in our both Razor's Edge and Financial Edge for integration. So that's what we'll talk about on August 20th, and then August 27th. We'll talk about managing events with inside and outside of Razor's Edge, so that'll be a fun one. I'm looking forward to that on the August 27th. We have some in-person things coming up as well. Christine and I will be going to the, I believe, biggest little city in the world, which is Reno, Nevada, for the Association of Advancement Services Professionals Conference. We will be presenting there about Harmon. I can't remember what our title was, but basically setting up communication between advancement and finance. We'll talk a lot about posting gifts, gift management, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about today. We'll talk about in person at the AASP conference. We'll also have a booth there. September 16th, Christine will be hosting Razor's Edge User Group in Columbia, South Carolina. And then our one of our favorite times of the year, October 6th through 8th, will be in Philadelphia at BBCon. With a booth with all kinds of fun things going on. So if you're going to be at any of those places, make sure you stop and say hi to us.
Yes, and just a side note for the events that Kevin didn't say about himself, but in addition to his knowledge in Razor's Edge, Kevin is a greater giving expert as well. So he's got a deep background for that. So expect some tips and ideas coming from that.
Yeah, we'll talk about auctions and galas and fund the needs and paddle raises and all the other fun things that are associated with that. So that'll be fun. So we've talked a lot of topics today, but we also just want to let you know about some of the amazing work that our consultants do and how we help our clients. We do database assessments. We do a lot of training, both virtual and on site, fully recordable, very customized to what it is what you need training on. And then we also can just sell you a bucket of consulting hours where you need to find time to meet with your consultant about specific things that come up. You have a sudden change in your office, you have someone that leaves, and you need someone to fill their shoes. All those kinds of things we can do with our consultants as well. And Christine did pop up that last poll question on the screen. If you're ready to just talk to us more about our services or our technology, and you are ready to talk today, we will answer number one, and I will reach out to you by the end of the week. But maybe not now, maybe later in the year, maybe next year. And I did see a lot of our amazing customers in here already, so thank you
Absolutely.
um, for entrusting us with your care, and we appreciate the business as well. Um, Here's our information on the screen, my email and Christine's email. Thank you all very much for all the activity in the chat. Thank you for joining us today. And we would love to see you again here next month.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much and have a great rest of your day.